Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Right now, I want you to pause and think. Have you ever been completely blindsided by a woman's feelings? One moment she's warm, attentive, even flirty, and the next she's distant, almost cold, leaving you scrambling for answers. Most men experience this moment at least once in their life, and for many, it becomes a pattern they never escape. One day, she's leaning toward you, laughing, asking questions, making you feel chosen, and then, without warning, the energy shifts, short replies, less enthusiasm, distance where connection used to live, and the worst part, you don't even know what you did wrong. Today, I'm going to expose a truth about female psychology that most men never learn, not because it's hidden, but because it's uncomfortable. Women don't fall in love for 10 reasons. They don't fall in love because of looks alone. They don't fall in love because you're nice. They fall in love for 2 reasons only, not 3, not 5, just 2, and once you truly understand them, every confusing relationship you've ever had will suddenly make sense. Here's the truth no one prepares you for: women don't fall for who you are, they fall for how you make them feel. Every interaction becomes an emotional measurement. When she's around you, does she feel calm? Or anxious? Does she feel stimulated? Or bored? Does she feel grounded? Or unsure? She's not consciously asking these questions, her nervous system is answering them automatically. And if you misunderstand this, you'll spend years chasing women who feel something for you, but never enough to stay. The 2 reasons women fall in love are security and desire. Miss one, and the connection collapses. Mismanage both, and you become unforgettable, for the wrong reasons. Let's break this down slowly. The first reason, security, and what men get wrong about it. When most men hear the word security, they immediately think about money, status, or physical protection. That's not what we're talking about here. True security is emotional certainty. A woman is constantly navigating a world full of pressure, expectations, attention, judgment, comparison, fear of abandonment, fear of choosing wrong. When she encounters a man whose emotional core is steady, something inside her relaxes, not because he's perfect, but because he's consistent. Security is the feeling that no matter what mood she's in, no matter what chaos she brings, you remain grounded. You don't chase her emotions, you don't collapse under pressure, you don't need constant reassurance. And here's something most men never realize: security is not loud, it's quiet. It's the man who doesn't rush to defend himself when questioned, the man who doesn't over-explain when misunderstood, the man who doesn't panic when silence appears. Think about this. Have you ever seen a man who wasn't rich, wasn't flashy, wasn't exceptionally handsome, yet women always seem drawn to him, not for excitement alone, but for something deeper? His presence feels solid. When she tests him, and she will test him, he doesn't flinch, and that's where attachment quietly begins. Women live with emotional fluctuation more than men realize. Hormones, social dynamics, constant evaluation, it creates internal instability. So when she meets a man whose emotional temperature doesn't spike with every situation, it feels like standing under a roof during a storm. That's why confidence isn't arrogance, it's composure, and composure communicates safety faster than words ever could. How security is actually communicated: security is not something you announce. You don't say, "I'm a strong man." You demonstrate it in micro moments. When she's upset and goes quiet, you don't interrogate. When she challenges you, you don't explode or retreat. When she questions your decisions, you don't fold. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional signals. They read tone before logic, energy before words, and when she senses that you can hold your ground without becoming rigid or cruel, her nervous system begins to trust you. That's when she softens. But listen carefully, security does not mean self-sacrifice. If you allow disrespect, overstep boundaries, or abandon your values to keep her happy, you don't create safety, you create instability disguised as kindness. True security comes from self-respect, and here's the paradox most men don't understand: when a woman realizes you could walk away if she crosses a line, she feels safer staying. Because she knows you're not trapped, you're choosing. That's why some men get commitment effortlessly, while others get appreciation but no desire. Women don't emotionally bind themselves to men they can control, they attach to men they can trust and respect. The second reason, desire, where most men fail: Now let's talk about desire, because security without desire creates comfort, not passion. This is where the good guy problem begins. She respects you, she appreciates you. She may even care deeply about you, but her heart doesn't race when she sees your name. Desire is what creates emotional tension, it's what makes her think about you when you're not there. What makes her replay conversations at night, what makes her feel slightly restless, in a good way. And here's the truth, desire is not created by effort, it's created by contrast. A woman desires what she cannot fully predict, control, or consume all at once. That doesn't mean games, that doesn't mean manipulation, it means depth, layers, a life, purpose, and emotional gravity that doesn't revolve around her. The men who spark desire are not always the ones texting non-stop. They let silence exist, they maintain their frame, they flirt with calm confidence, not desperation. Desire requires space, when she's not completely certain how she stands with you, when she senses that you value her but don't need her, something primal activates, and this is the mistake that destroys attraction instantly, trying to make her desire you. The moment you chase, prove, or convince, desire collapses, because desire is not negotiated, it's evoked. A woman desires a man she feels she could lose, not one who hands himself over freely. Why women confuse themselves when they desire you. Here's something fascinating, when desire activates, women often struggle internally. She'll say, "You're not my type." Yet she keeps responding. She'll say, "I don't want anything serious." Yet she becomes possessive. That's because desire bypasses logic, it hooks emotion directly. And this is why men get confused, because they listen to her words instead of observing her behavior. Now here's the uncomfortable truth, security without desire makes you safe but forgettable, desire without security makes you exciting but replaceable. Most men fall into one extreme, the nice guy builds safety, but no spark. The player creates spark, but no trust. Women want both, but they don't expect it from most men. That's why they say things like, "He's a great guy, but he's exciting, but not the one." What they're really saying is, "He gave me one reason to fall, not both." And without both, love never fully roots, the duality that awakens deep attachment. You might be wondering, how can I be both the calm anchor and the source of tension? That question alone puts you ahead of most men, because that duality, strength with unpredictability, is what awakens a woman's deepest emotional response. She wants to feel protected and stimulated, she wants stability and polarity, she wants to know you're solid, but also that you won't tolerate disrespect. Men sabotage this by overdoing one side. Too much stability becomes boring, too much chaos becomes exhausting, but when you blend both, you become unforgettable. That's when she thinks about you even when she doesn't want to. Why women test men, and what those tests really mean. If you've ever felt like a woman was playing games with you, here's the truth, she wasn't playing. She was testing, and those tests are not random. They are subconscious evaluations designed to answer one question: can this man provide both security and desire? When she pulls away suddenly, most men panic, they chase, they over-explain, they beg for clarity, and in doing so, they fail the test instantly. Because emotional collapse communicates fragility. Now imagine the opposite, she withdraws, and you remain calm. You don't react emotionally, you don't abandon your life. That calmness screams security, and paradoxically, it reignites desire, because she realizes she cannot control your emotional state. You set the tone. Another test, she challenges your boundaries, mocks your goals, pushes limits, questions your decisions. Men who bend lose respect, men who explode lose trust, but the man who holds his ground, without anger, without ego, passes. And finally, the most subtle test of all, leadership, choosing where to go, handling inconvenience, making decisions under pressure. Fail to lead, she feels unsafe. Lead harshly, she feels controlled. Lead calmly, she feels both protected and excited. Every test is an invitation. Pass it, and attachment grows silently. Fail it, and love fades quietly. The silent signal she's falling in love, before she admits it. Before a woman ever says the words, "I'm falling for you," her behavior betrays her. Love doesn't announce itself loudly in the beginning. It whispers, and most men are too distracted to listen. The first signal is focused attention, not just time, attention. She doesn't just show up, she remembers, small details, things you said once, your preferences, your routines. That's not politeness, that's her mind anchoring itself to you. When a woman begins storing mental details about you, it means you've crossed from interest into emotional relevance. The second signal is controlled vulnerability. She doesn't dump her trauma on you, she doesn't overshare, instead, she lets you see behind the curtain, carefully, fears, insecurities. Unspoken dreams. Women don't expose these parts to men they don't trust, and here's the danger most men don't see: if you dismiss, minimize, or try to fix her vulnerability, the door closes instantly. She wasn't asking for solutions, she was checking if it was safe to let you inside. Then come the physical tells, the ones men often ignore. She mirrors your movements, leans when you lean, touches that seem accidental but never are, her eyes linger longer than necessary, her smile appears when nothing funny was said. These are not conscious choices, they are involuntary signals of attachment forming. But the strongest indicator of all, investment. She rearranges her schedule. Seeks your opinion, includes you in her decisions. That's not convenience, that's emotional prioritization. And here's where most men make their fatal mistake: they seek verbal confirmation instead of reading behavior. They want reassurance, labels, certainty, but women don't lead with words, they watch, and if you miss the signals, doubt creeps in. She begins to question whether you're emotionally capable of leading her heart. How men destroy attraction without realizing it. This is where things fall apart, not in dramatic fights, not in obvious betrayals, but in subtle, repeated mistakes. The first killer is overvalidation. When a woman shows interest, many men panic, not with fear, but with excitement. They flood her with compliments, constant texts, endless reassurance. At first, she enjoys it, then something shifts, because attention that isn't earned feels unstable. Deep down, she wonders, why is he giving me so much already? And that question quietly erodes attraction. The second mistake is neediness disguised as care. You think you're being attentive, she feels pressure, checking in constantly, wanting to see her all the time, making her your emotional center. But a man without a life outside of her becomes a weight, not a value. Women fall for men who add to their world, not men who collapse into it. The third mistake is emotional volatility. She tests you, and you react: anger, sulking, passive aggression, and in one moment, both security and desire vanish, because if she can destabilize you that easily, you're not the man she thought you were. Love cannot survive instability, and the most damaging mistake of all, loss of mystery. When you reveal every thought, every feeling, every plan, you remove curiosity. Love needs discovery. When she feels she's already figured you out, the spark dies quietly. And here's the truth men don't want to accept: love rarely dies in explosions, it fades through overexposure, overreaction, and overgiving. Why women leave emotionally before they ever leave physically. This is the part that breaks men. She stayed, but she wasn't the same. That's because her heart left long before her body did. Women don't usually wake up one day and decide to stop loving a man, they drift, and the reason is almost always the same: he stopped being the man she fell in love with, he became complacent, predictable, emotionally soft. He stopped leading, stopped challenging, stopped creating polarity. The balance shifted, and slowly, attraction evaporated, not because she wanted it to, but because he let it. How women stay in love, the part most men never master. A woman may fall in love because of security and desire, but she stays in love for one reason only: you continue to embody both. Love is not a trophy you win once. It's a state you maintain through consistency of identity, not grand gestures, not chasing, not constant reassurance, but presence, frame, purpose. She needs to know, you are growing, you are grounded, you are not dependent on her for meaning. At the same time, she must feel chosen, not taken for granted, desired, not consumed, safe, not controlled. This balance keeps polarity alive. Too much comfort kills attraction, too much distance kills trust, but when she feels both, she bonds deeply. The men women never forget. Think about couples who stay passionate for decades. It's not luck, it's not fate, it's a man who never lost his edge. He didn't stop leading, he didn't stop growing. He didn't let comfort make him weak. She felt safe with him, but she also knew, if she stopped respecting him, he would walk away. That paradox keeps love alive. The final truth: if you want to be unforgettable, if you want to be the man she never fully gets over. Understand this: she falls in love for two reasons: security, desire, but she stays in love when you live those qualities every single day. Most men will never hear this truth, but now, you have. So let me leave you with this question: in your last relationship, did she fall for your security, or your desire? Tell me in the comments, and if this opened your eyes, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a man who still doesn't understand why she walked away.